It's every Red Raiders' favorite podcast. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
Happy Tuesday. Welcome into Tech Talk. You've got us on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com. You just heard a 16-4 run rule for the Texas Tech Red Raiders. The old walk-off run rule. Love to see it. Owen Washburn ends it there for him with a 3-run shot. Gavin Cash also had a 3-run shot in it. And it is a 16-4 win over Stephen F. Austin, as now the Red Raiders turn their attention to UCF back-to-back weekends of Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Big 12 baseball for the Red Raiders after beating BYU in a series last weekend. We are live from the First United Bank studio. We'll take you all the way up to 6 o'clock. You can call us on the Visual Edge IT hotline. That number is 806-771-0973. Or you can hit us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Thoughts, comments, questions, reactions to the win, or whatever's on your mind, you can hit us up there. Take us anywhere with the mobile app, brought to you by Happy State Bank. We're also streaming live on Fox 34 News Now and on YouTube. You can also follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. I'm Clint Scott. Dr. Mike Gustafson will be in just a bit, fighting the traffic from Bark in the Park, I'm sure. And Brennan Riker, behind the glass, taking care of us. Brennan, how are you today?
Really good. That was fun to witness. You always love a run rule walk off, like you said. It doesn't happen very often, but when it happens, it's pretty fun.
Did you enjoy seeing 11 different lumberjack pitchers go into the game?
Not as much.
I was kind of hoping they would just like, hey, are there any local sports radio guys who want to get into the game too? Maybe some righties. I mean, I could have ended
maybe
the game
a
even
5
quicker.
foot, 120-pound senior out of Post, Texas, left-hander, 99.99 ERA, but that's fine.
If you could grow the hair out, you could do the because Linscomb was a smaller frame, right? You could maybe pull that look off.
Maybe the look. Now the skill is a different story.
I think my nickname, if I would have been there's been some great sports nicknames over the years, and all of the major sports, but mine I think would have been like the Big Free Pass or something like that if they let me out on the mound. But yeah.
The lumbering Viking.
The why is he breathing hard after running in from the bullpen? Just like
he just walked out there. He took 3 minutes to walk out there.
Like, can I get a cart? It's like, are you injured? No, I don't want to be breathing hard when I finally get to the mound.
And hence why we have the baseball golf cart.
Yes, Yeah, it's for the out of shape pitchers that they don't have. Red Raiders do pick up their 13th home win of the year. They move to 18-7. Like I said, now they turn their attention to UCF, and their RPI is a top 10 RPI. And I know it's early, but I don't think anybody expected, one, how the Big 12 to sit where it is right now, where you have TCU, who's obviously still trying to find themselves, struggling in Big 12 play, which is crazy when you look at the start. And there are some close wins in there for the Horned Frogs, but they start off 15-0 in non-conference play and then hit the Big 12, and the conference immediately gets topsy-turvy with what you expect. Oklahoma State, hasn't been just the solid ball club you expect. Texas running around in the middle of the Big 12 right now, although they do beat you, obviously, to start Big 12 play. And then I would say where you're at in conference play is probably a little bit unexpected. I think if you went from team to team and coach to coach and fan to fan around Big 12 country, with you sitting at 4-5, but the fact that the first time you see the Knights in Big 12 play, and that providing a big early RPI opportunity for you. I don't think anybody had that on their bingo card, but I think you'll take it, especially if you can go and keep up with the momentum, especially that you had on almost said Saturday and Sunday. I know it was Friday and Saturday. I know this weekend is Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Still almost messed it up. But the momentum you got from Friday and then from Saturday, especially, which was one of your, if not your absolute best complete game of conference play so far, winning that one 10-1 from a hitting perspective, and then also just from your arms and how good you looked in relief of Jack Washburn, who didn't have a bad outing either. So if you can keep rolling that and pick up some nice RPI wins, I'm curious whenever we regroup. Of course, we have a lot of time in between this, but when we regroup after Easter and we come in here on a Monday at 3 o'clock, how differently will it felt from let's go to last Monday when you were sick to your stomach after the Baylor series. You have to go take care of business. You have to go win the series. I'm not saying it's easy, but if you do, it just feels like you're doing a complete 180 with your feeling, at least mine, towards these Red Raiders and this early start to conference play, which again started 2 weekends earlier than normal. This from Shelley. SFA definitely needed the big cooked onion on the mound. Oh, yeah. That would have been my signature pitch. It's like, they do the first call. Like, no, I don't want a fastball. And they do the second call. I was like, no, I don't want a slider. You know what I'm throwing. The onion ring. Which was basically my version of giving up a free home run. Brendan, how's your bracket doing?
Well, my Final Four is still intact. Mm-hmm. Other than that, it's a hot mess.
Mm-hmm.
But I have, let's see, I have UConn, Houston. Who do I have in that other region? I definitely have UConn and Houston making the Final Four. Don't have Gonzaga making it. I can't remember who I have, but as long as the Final Four is still intact, mm-hmm. it's fine. But I've adopted a new motto, and this isn't an original thought, but it's more chaos over your bracket. Like I am mm-hmm. for, if it's chaotic, so what happens to my bracket? It's not like it's perfect anyways.
That's typical. Like last year, if you liked anarchy, it's hilarious how last season was basically the dream of dreams that you could have around the bracket. With who made the Final Four, with FAU, with San Diego State in the championship game. And UConn obviously has some history of championships, and I would say they are in the, if the blue blood conversation is important to you, they're either in it or they're in that next group outside of it. And I think most people are split. I have them in. Who cares? Doesn't really matter anyways. It's more about winning from season to season. But you go from last year and you have all these lower seeds making it, and even to the Elite Eight, which was wonky, and the magical run of Kansas State and Jerome Tang of year one, to this year where it is chalk. Talk about feeling completely 180 of, possible 2 Mondays to 2 Mondays, 180 from non-chalk to this year, hey, all the 1s and 2s. Let's see what you can do in the Sweet 16.
Non-chalk Jayhawk.
That's a t-shirt fan. It's Tech Talk here on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com.
The podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Gus, you know who really helped out their batting percentage today?
Yeah.
Tracer Lopez.
Yes.
It is Tech Talk here on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com. Thanks for joining us live from the First United Bank studio, hanging out with you for 2 more hours here on a Tuesday afternoon. And it is a Victory Tuesday. Red Raiders in a walk-off run rule beating Stephen F. Austin 16-4. Clint Scott now welcoming in Dr. Mike Gustafson, Brendan Riker behind the glass. Hey, you can call us on the Visual Edge IT hotline. That number is 806-771-0973. Or you can hit us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Thoughts, comments, nicknames for Brennan or I's pitches, if they would have thrown us on the mound too. Brendan and I don't know if you were listening on the way over, really pining to be pitchers 12 and 13 for Stephen F. Austin. But I don't think we were even good enough for that. So,
I think I would have a pitch called the Shiner.
Oh.
Because it's going to be hit off your face after you offer it up to them.
Literally 100 years ago, you would hear. You've both heard of the term spitter, spitball and stuff. Back when that was legal, you'd hear variations of that in the early 20th century, and one of them was called a shine ball. And probably it was basically back when you could doctor a baseball and get whatever. And I don't know exactly where that came from. If it was something to try to get reduce friction or create friction. Of course, in those days too, they would play with a dirty ball, like a foul ball and stuff.
Horse name.
They would just keep those balls in there, and they were mushy. And so I don't know if they took balls from what foul balls got thrown back in. I don't know, but they would use old cruddy baseballs with all sorts of stuff on them, but so that there was a shine ball.
A shine ball sounds like you snuck a little small tiny mirror or something reflective and like put it on the back side of your glove, and you just like throw up an underhanded meatball, and you just try to give yourself enough time to blind the batter with said mirror off the sun. Like, oh yeah, hit that, huh? Bet you want to swing.
That's the untold ending of Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. What is it? What does she mouth to him? Loft it? Float it? Float it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Great movie. Guess? Successful outing for the Red Raiders. Expected successful outing.
Needed to be.
22nd loss in a row for Stephen F. Austin, so you're not exactly walking away from that going like, man, everything is fixed. That was going into the matchup.
No, the best, just get games in, keep guys sharp, get guys sharp, whatever. Probably the best performance coming out of that game's Trendon Parrish in my book. He was 3 2/3. Yeah, 3 2/3, and just zipping right along. I mean, I remember thinking after 8 outs or whatever, thinking he'd thrown through his 2/3 plus 2, thinking, man, he's probably done right here. But then John said the pitch count was at like 32 or whatever, because he was just dealing. And so. If they had a mind to give him, 30, whatever the number was, get him to 40 pitches or whatever, he, it took him a while to get there because he was so efficient. And so that may have been the best thing, and fans probably may not realize this about him, because his one failing this year, his one really bad outing was a game that we all remember. It was a Sunday game against Texas. And he came in and went an inning plus, pitched in parts of 2 innings, and gave up, I think, 5 runs, 4 of them earned. And that's it. Like, go look at his season line, and it's maybe there was a 1, maybe he gave up a 1 in the Oregon game or whoever, UT Arlington or something like that. And then it's 0-0-0, 4-0-0. So he's throwing the ball pretty good. His season line doesn't look that great, but so it's good to see him stringing some things together. And he's sort of become as that guy that he throws so much spin, so many breakers. He can throw it for strike. It's kind of that big slurvy thing he's always had, and that cutter, and he can. One time through the order, especially if it's a lineup stacked with right-handers, he can create some matchup problems. Second time through, start to see some guys make some adjustments, but, you don't have to go 2 times through if he goes in there and throws a clean 3 innings or whatever it was. But, yeah, that was he got the win to show for it today, and really good outing. And, this series in UCF represents some opportunities that maybe – we wouldn't have guessed coming into the season, because these cats are top 10 RPI.
Yeah,
and we're not. We're in the 50s or 60s or whatever it is, and it's a little early for that. And that number's still got some volatility. The things it's going to take to build a decent tournament resume and probably need to be over 500 in a league like this, in a year like this. So anyway, that RPI will probably take care of itself. It's a
welcome sight with, as far as building a resume, though, and also I would think still, even though you have a top 10 RPI UCF team, what are they, 6, 7, something like that in the RPI.
Yeah, it's way up there.
Somewhere around there.
And remember, those schools like that are going to get those non-conference games that you need to get the RPI.
Which is something we talked about in UCF with being in state with all of, just numerous great programs that are out of conference but are right there. And it doesn't seem like either of them shy away from either side of playing each other. I don't have a deep history of UCF. I wonder if it would turn to that way if UCF, built itself up or something like that. But as of now, it doesn't seem like, Miami or Florida State or Florida is like, oh, man, we're not going to put them on there. Just a chance to lose, a tough one. No, we'll take on Jacksonville instead.
No, there may be some personal beef between two coaches or maybe not able to line up the schedule or whatever else. But, yeah, there's no situation where you stay away from UCF because they're – the 8 zillionth RPI in the country. No, it's quite the opposite. Their situation is probably going to be helped by the fact that they're in the Big 12. I would think it's probably going to help their recruiting and everything else. So, it's just I would have, if we'd have talked about that at the beginning of the year, I might not have circled it the way I would circle it now and say, hey, that's got an opportunity to be some resume.
That game will be on Thursday, again being Easter week. Got to make sure we have time for all the Easter celebrations and Easter egg hunts and all that stuff.
Relatively early starts Thursday and Friday, and then Saturday, I think, at noon. So, it's, of course, you're on the East Coast there.
It's that time of year where children are crying in pictures with a giant rabbit. It is Tech Talk here on Double T 97.3.
The podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
It is Tech Talk here on Double T 97.3, DoubleT973.com. Thank you for joining us on a Victory Tuesday. Red Raider baseball took down Stephen F. Austin 16-4 in a run rule. It is interesting to see that you got as close as possible to the biggest margin that you can win by, right? Because you just won off.
That was
12-run win.
It was we knew the run rule was in effect there, and a lot of that had to do with, I'm sure, just making sure that Stephen F. wasn't going to get dragged into a situation where they'd get home at 3 a.m. because the game lasted forever or whatever. Mm-hmm. And, we were, that was an 8-run lead, and then Lysa gave a 2-run home run. It's like, all right, man, I get to that run rule, and then I'm up there kind of counting, going, all right, we got the tying run at the – not the tying, the game-ending, the game-ending run here, and old O walked it. Well, it was over to third base, in fact, because the Tracer Lopez triple. And then
Tracer was what? I mean,
he
just
was
a few feet from knocking
it
over
exactly,
and ending it in the first place, and then ends into a triple and hits at the wall. But you didn't hear the same "walk it off" emotion from Hacks after this one. It's crazy that that one didn't have the same punch.
It was just like put it to a merciful end. It was good to see Owen Washburn get off a good swing like that.
Yeah, somebody just asked us about him yesterday, that they hadn't noticed, Washburn in the lineup, and you had said, not that this is like, all right, well, he's all the way back in, but you said, the approach for him as you are waiting and someone that's been in and out of the lineup and has certainly had opportunity, that, we would probably be in a situation like this where it might not be starting, but you get into a game somehow. This is, he gets an at-bat, and you said, hey, well, you just got to take advantage. And, that was taking advantage of it.
Go get noticed. Yeah, no doubt. And, right now most of the dudes in front of him, especially with Bravo moving over to center field, most of the dudes in front of him have been fairly productive. Mm-hmm. And for Owen, that would either involve pushing Green out or to another outfield spot, or pushing Stripling out at DH. All those dudes, took care of business today, and he'll just have to get it going if he gets another crack at it. And I'm sure he will.
Let's go to Brennan, who has our play of the day. I wonder what it is.
2-2 pitch. Turned on and clubbed deep down the right field line. It is gone. Adios, muchacho, and adios, Lumberjacks. Oh, and Washburn bends it around the foul pole. It's 16-4, your final.
So Zach Erdman gets the start. Let's keep rolling along with the result from today. We knew it wasn't going to be Zane Petty. Let's see who's some other midweek guys. Tabor Fast wasn't going to be him. Erdman gets the start today. A little roughed up to begin the game, but then smooth things out. And, you know, it was in a situation where against a not very good team, could have went south and could have, really put your face in your hands walking off the mound. But I think shows some resolve and, like I said,
agree.
kind of coasts out until you get it to Parrish. What'd you think of him?
Yeah, obviously not the start he wanted, and he had a chance to get out of that first inning with just one run, gave up the two out double, and so out of the gate, not sharp at all, but I think set down, I don't remember exactly what it was. The stretch was like 8 out of 10 hitters, 7 out of 8, something like that. You know, really, really settle in nicely in the second, third, give up the 1-out double in the fourth, and they had a pitcher, Warman, and I don't remember exactly what the pitch count was, but it was a point at which maybe Coach Tadlock said, let's see what else he can do here, and got the first guy out, give up the double, and then took him out, and Trenton pitched out of it. And that was at a point too where, again, you look at these kind of games, you go, really spending all this time talking about what happened in the fifth inning. Well, yeah, it was 2-2 at that point, or fourth inning or whatever, and so, or maybe 5-2. No, it was 2-2 at that point, and so, yeah, that the game still had some teeth left to it at that point. They weren't just playing out the string, but yeah, not anything he's going to hang his hat on, but a serviceable outing, and you would think that if Fast and Petty aren't, in the picture, hopefully this isn't anything that's, but regardless, if they're not in the picture, this time next week we're wrapping up a 2-game midweek set with Stanford. Stanford Cardinal, and so somebody's going to have to cover those 2 starts and cover some innings, and so that'll be a little bit more of a challenge if you don't have Petty or Tabor, because both those guys have really been set up for starter type innings, and so what you'd like to get out of one of those guys is what Petty gave them 2 weeks ago against New Mexico State, which would go out there and eat up 6 innings. And then, because you may go into the other game going, it's kind of a bullpen day, or, maybe the starter gets us 3 innings and we do this and that with a bunch of these other innings. But, those guys are going to have to cover a bunch of innings on Monday and Tuesday around, it's not an obvious start beyond Erdman. Because you get to go, well, why not Caleb Rogers? Well, Caleb Rogers may throw 2 or 3 innings this weekend. Hopefully he does in a much-needed win at UCF.
Jacob.
I mean, I know. I did that again. Jacob Rogers. I've done that so many times.
Because the first time you did that, you're like, I'm going to do that all year.
I have, and it's comical. When I'm in the booth.
That's the effect that Caleb Rogers had this year in the basketball games.
And it absolutely is. Because I worked to learn his name a couple years ago and first started to make sure I was on top of the depth charts and all that stuff. And then, and he's been a fixture in the lineup the last 2 years in football. And then the basketball thing. And so, he's top of mind. And so Jacob, if you see Caleb, tell him I said he has a good breaking ball. Yeah. And
I didn't know you were playing 2 sports. Boy, you want to talk about, and we talk about imposing pitchers, like the Randy Johnson type, these huge frames, and as they're walking up to the mound, you're like, oh my gosh. Like, I'm definitely not charging the mound on this guy. That would be Caleb Rogers if he was also a pitcher. Oh,
absolutely. There was a guy named Tim Stoddard that pitched in the big leagues, about 10 years, reliever, kind of a career reliever. But he played at NC State. North Carolina State won national championship, 74-ish, 75 in hoops, and beat Bill Walton, I think it was 74. David Thompson was the best player on that team, and Tom McMillan. It's kind of a legendary team. In fact, it was 74 because they said their 50-year anniversary. But kind of the power forward on that team, didn't score a bunch, was Tim Stoddard. And then he went on to pitch like 10, 12 years in the big leagues. So if he's a power forward guarding Bill Walton, you know what he looked like physically. He was kind of a bigger, thicker, heavier guy. And so forever in his career, he was the 6'7", 240-pound guy. And it was exactly that. Like, maybe not You don't run out of there and get any of that. Grew up in Gary, Indiana. Tough guy. Wouldn't have charged him out on that dude. By the way, on this day, 1988, you may remember me talking about our brawl with Houston. I showed you that video.
Yeah,
On this day, 1988, full on scrap.
Oh man! And to this day,
full on.
Every March 26th, Gus wakes up and just starts swinging.
I do not.
It's just like reaction. It's burnt into his brain.
Practice.
Just like Caleb Rogers to Jacob Rogers. It's burnt in his brain.
Practice.
Yeah, I'll take you back in time, pal.
He just stands on the bed and does the Jimmy Superfly
No,
snooker
don't.
right off.
Try not to get
top.
hurt.
Right. It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3.
The podcast that finishes your workday in a very Red Raider way. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
It's Tech Talk. You got us on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com. Clint Scott, Dr. Mike Gustafson, Brennan Riker. We are live from the First United Bank studio. You can call us on the Visual Edge IT hotline. That number is 806-771-0973. If you are looking for a new Twitter handle and you call that number, Brennan will give you one. It's got a whole book back there. Or you can just hit us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line if you'd like. Thoughts, comments, questions. We'll get a question from the chat line here in just a second. Take us anywhere with the mobile app, brought to you by Happy State Bank. We're also streaming live on Fox 34 News Now and on YouTube. Oh, we got this from Lindell Jeff. I made the joke of, it's that time of year where children are crying in pictures while being held by giant rabbits. And Lindell Jeff put up a picture of his twins as toddlers crying while being held by a giant rabbit. Yeah. We never really did that growing up. Of course, if there was someone in Molinville, Kansas running around like, hey, you take pictures in the rabbit suit, that dude probably would have been arrested.
Yeah, true.
But, man, I've seen more. And, of course, I guess the ones that really get shown are the bad ones where kids are crying and they're terrified or whatever. But I feel like I see more crying ones with the rabbit than I do. Look at this child sitting and smiling, so happy to be held by this
That's just
6'4" furry creature. Yeah. This from Justin. And by the way, news today, not news, rumors today. Let me back that up. Is what's floating around is the Big 12 is interested in Duke if there were to be a possible ACC breakup with the Florida State and Clemson current lawsuit towards the conference. Justin wants to know our thoughts on Duke being courted by the Big 12.
Ooh, man, that's falls right in line with the belief that that there's some inefficiency in the pricing around college basketball, and what's being pursued are the Gonzaga types, maybe UConn, I don't know, maybe not, but Duke would fit right into that. In terms of a basketball first. Obviously they play football and they've had some moments, but this is Commissioner Yormark trying to wrap his arms around all the basketball properties that are unclaimed, unspoken for.
And it's not just a flat dud of a football program. I wouldn't say a plus football program or something that you would be feeling like it's a prize. But from the UConn discussion, UConn plays football, but you would absolutely be biting a bullet in that department, right? UConn is just a negative program. If you're going a non-flat, they would be a flat program. They would be a knock for what football is in the Big 12 as you try to essentially maintain third place in the conference race. And so for Duke, if it everything does blow up, and there's a team draft pick, if you will, and obviously the Big Ten and SEC are going to get first dibs on what they want, and you would think, well, it's going to be lead off conversation wise with Florida State and Clemson, but then who's in that second tier? How do they feel about North Carolina? How do they feel about Virginia Tech or Miami? Like where are those schools viewed by those two conferences? But when it's all said and done, if you pull to Duke, the selfish part of me that my favorite part of Big 12 is the basketball side. Would be thrilled that you added another A-plus basketball program. And I don't know if you were doing a grading system of like the whole shebang, C-plus type program. Like if you're grading it from the SEC Big Ten point of view, how would you view
football
Duke?
first model? You mean?
Yes, you would probably say C plus.
They're closer
to maybe C minus, like somewhere in there.
Yeah, and in terms of football, they're closer to the Northwestern and Vanderbilt. And I'm not saying but just their private school, not huge alumni base and all that. But then the basketball conversation changes. And again, this is all about what your Mark believes are some inefficiencies. In other words, he's saying, hey, that's not being they haven't realized a true basketball conference hasn't realized its full dollar value yet.
Sure.
He aims to figure that conversation out.
This on the Yates Flooring Center chat line from Bobby Hot Dogs. I saw that Kansas blue chickened out of facing the mighty St. Louis Billikens today. Yeah. In old baseball. Surprised?
Yeah, they have some weather. I mean, I assumed it was weather when I saw that.
I think they canceled it yesterday, if I have that right. Surprised they let Parrish go that long with a series starting Thursday, that from Racer 26.
That may be their way of saying that he's, it's not that they're burying him for the weekend, but it may be their way of saying, hey, we weren't going to have him up on Thursday anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so throwing the, what do you go? Did you?
He went 3 and 2.
I know. Give me a pitch count.
Oh, pitch count?
It's on there. I knew the innings thing. I'll look that up. But
then
if he stayed under 40 or 50, he's probably going to be available on 2 days rest, and so that means he's probably available. They may have said
he had 46 total pitches.
So what they're saying there is he probably by throwing him the way they did today, he's not available. Probably wasn't part of their plans on Thursday. Probably is part of their plans on a Friday or Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And so that and the other thing is I mean, at the point that he was going, it was still a 2-2 game at the very first, and then a 5-2. So he never. It's not like they threw him a bunch of sloppy innings when they were up 10-2.
Mm-hmm. This from Bobby Hot Dogs was looking at RPI today. How is UCF so high? They had some decent wins and a win over Florida, but I wouldn't think it would justify them being 6th in the RPI. However, this weekend could be a golden opportunity for Tech to make an massive RPI gain.
Yeah, that RPI deal is 100% math, and it's based on winning percentages, your winning percentage, the winning percentage of your opponents, and then of your opponents' opponents. And so the fact that they've tangled with Florida and Oklahoma State and some of those others, they've got some heft on their early part of their thing. It's why we always talk about root for the teams you beat. Mm-hmm. Like we want Oregon, we want Nebraska. We want those guys to go get some wins because it helps us. That RPI formula is a simpler approach than the net ranking thing in basketball. But yeah, there's some value to that, and like with the net ranking, there's more value to wins on the road than at home.
The podcast that finishes your workday in a very Red Raider way. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com. Clint Scott, Dr. Mike Gustafson, Brendan Riker behind the glass. Gus, I meant to text you last night. I actually thought of you because I ended up going to the old Long John Silver's for supper.
Look at you.
And it was a big victory for me going through the drive-through of Long John Silver's by myself. By the way, it was very good. It was kind of my semi-annual trip there to make sure I'm doing my part to keep Long John Silver's alive and pumping.
Keep them
Except
solvent.
It's a good thing that I only go there about every 6 months because I don't think I can go there again. And it's not their fault. It's my fault. It's like every once in a while, my brain, it's like I have too much storage. Like I've got a cap on it. And if I learn anything new, which happens every day on the show, it throws out something that I know from everyday knowledge. And I go through, right? I get whatever the number is, number 11. and I pay. I'm the only one in line. Pretty sure it's me and the workers anyways. And then from the back, like the lady who was putting my stuff in the bag screamed past the person who was like taking my like money and stuff. Was like, what sauce does he want? And so it kind of scared me. And he turns and he's like, hey, what sauce do you want? I'm like, can I get a cocktail sauce? And I just could not think of the word tartar sauce. And just like, you know, the white sauce with like the pickles, and like the disappointment in his voice when he was like, you mean tartar sauce? I was like, yeah, if you can give me tartar sauce.
Yeah,
I'm sorry for this interaction.
Yeah, you should be. Yep.
I'm apologizing that I put you through the window in this situation. I'll take my chips, fish, and shrimp and more and go cry into my food at home. So, anyways, I had Long John Silver.
So it was delightful?
Oh, it was great.
Good?
Yeah. I still like that they're still handing out the extra Crispies for some reason. Well, not for some reason, because they're great.
Did you ask? I mean,
no.
or did they just? Yeah,
no,
they
dude,
were just part of the
it's
operation.
Just it's just in the bottom. It's like all of their stuff comes on a bed of little batter chips, little batter Crispies. Yeah, so still good. Except I can't go to that one for a while. Pretty sure they've banned me because I couldn't remember the freaking word tartar sauce. I don't even like tartar sauce that much.
You might get suspended for a brief amount of time. And stay out for a couple of weeks or something just to know that you've.
I mean, that's lost of time. That's money going out the door.
Well, there was no other cars behind me, so I'm sure I really held them up over there. This on the Yates Flooring Center chat line.
Just be better.
Yeah, I'm trying, man. I'm trying. Bobby Hot Dog said, Clint, I thought you were about to tell us today's the anniversary of Walton's Tiger in a Trance quotes. Colored me disappointed.
Tiger in a Trance.
Bullfighter claims that you blocked him.
Bullfighter, first of all, if you added me today, then you may have, but I don't think it was you. Because your tag and your handle's Bullfighter, isn't it?
I liked the tone that you started that with. First of all, Bullfighter, I think you and Bullfighter should start is it called X Beef now?
No, you like
Twitter beef.
You know, you go drink beer together. That's what we need to do.
He needs to get you on a bull.
Invite you lady boys along, but I can't go.
Whoa! When have you ever heard me say that? I've only mutter when I'm in the line of Long John Silver's, and I can't remember the freaking name of stupid tartar sauce. Someone says I'm one of the 7, by the way.
One of the 7?
Yeah, of your, again, asking about the, you were claiming that I'm pushing away the lady listeners of Tech Talk.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, so there you go. You Nasty, fellow American song name. Perfect. Robert says Bill Walton was one of the 86 Celtics world champs.
Very much so.
Was that the year that you talked about?
Yeah, I talked about that team
a
couple weeks ago. He was a fantastic player for that team, and it was really like of course he wasn't brought there to be the star, but he was such a good passer and all that. Yeah, and then the next year kind of had another injury, and it was sort of the end of his time. But yeah, he was a valuable part of that 86 World Champs team.
Tyler said, I'm just glad Gus didn't burn up in that fire. What was going on?
I know, man. I don't know. At first, of course, we've got headphones on that are noise cancelers up there in the TV booth, and TV booth, the windows open. Of course, I assume anybody would have had the window open today, but it was a little bit chilly. It was kind of sweatshirt weather. But and I thought it was off in the distance, and then between innings, took headset off, and it sounded like it was coming from the Stadium Club over there. Now, I hope it was just a false sensor or something. Obviously, nothing was evacuated.
Harmless prank.
Yeah, or just something. Maybe they burned something in the kitchen or whatever. But I don't think evacuations took place or anything like that, and there were sirens and 14 fire trucks coming. But it was definitely going off and we had a blinking light in our booth. Now we didn't have the we didn't have the beeper going off in our booth, but yeah, we you can definitely hear it.
You know what I'm glad we
It
don't
was
have
part
to
of the
do?
gnat sound.
Yeah. You know what I'm glad we don't have to do in our adult lives, or at least here, are fire drills or tornado drills.
Yeah.
And I love how at least ours used to do it right, because every single teacher would know, like, hey, you know what? At 1 o'clock, we're going to do a fire drill. We're going to do a tornado drill. And, like, of course, you're never going to tell the kids because you want to make sure they're prepared. Oh, my gosh. So, like, having to funnel. And I went to a school of, like, under 100 people. So I can't imagine having to do that, like, in a bigger school.
Hey,
My
gosh.
freshman year at LCU, we had a soft lockdown. We were not even prepared for it. We didn't know what was
unfortunately,
going
that's
on, but we knew that the alerts went off and, like, we got on our phone and hey, this is a soft lockdown.
I'm old enough to remember the civil defense things. Like when I was teeny tiny in Tuscaloosa, second grade, mid 70s, they were still doing the civil defense things, which is basically if we have a nuclear attack, y'all get under your desks. And I'm not exaggerating. That's exactly what those things were. They were very common in the 50s and 60s. They were still hanging around Tuscaloosa, Alabama in 1974, 5.
Dude, fire drill, I was always just like, can we just keep going? Like, we're out of the building.
Yeah.
We at least have recess. Tornado drill was the annoying one to us because we had one teacher, like, you have to do the form, right? You go against the wall, you go down, you put your, like, head kind of in your lap trying to turn
Get
yourself
away
into a
from the
wall.
windows.
And, like, you have this, like, one dictator of a teacher just like, better form, like, make sure your hands touch on the knees.
Nice.
It's Tech Talk.
This has been the Tech Talk Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.